It's a great honor for me, and it's a great privilege for us to introduce ourselves as the new, and this is the first time in Minnesota history, the new Minnesota Senate Republican Majority Caucus. We haven't heard that very often anymore. Never heard it before. We are the new Majority Caucus. And let me introduce to you our new Majority Leader, your new Majority Leader, a fantastic woman and someone I think that's going to just lead this caucus and this state down the road to prosperity and great pleasure, the great Senator Amy Koch. Amy?
Good evening, and thank you for your patience. We've got a little larger caucus than usual, and we're working very carefully and thoroughly to get things right. Well, the historic significance of Tuesday's election, we feel, cannot be overstated. Since the Minnesota Senate began using party designation in 1972, the Republican Party, for the first time now, holds the majority. Senate Republicans are welcoming 21 new faces to our caucus, filling 5 vacancies and replacing 16 DFL incumbents. Senate Republicans also bring more geographic diversity to the state Senate, with new members from the southeast, southwest, central Minnesota, and several suburban areas. Senate Republicans recognize that we cannot always control the political wave environment, but we are proud to say that we were prepared and are able to deliver upon the will of the voters. So the Senate is now under new leadership, and the business as usual approach to the government is over. The voters send a loud, clear message to the state Senate on Tuesday. We want smaller government, lower taxes, and less spending. We will act promptly on that message, and the Senate majority staff is already hard working to reshape and consolidate Senate committees, and as an immediate example of making the government more efficient in how we get our work done. This new Senate majority is committed to delivering on our message of addressing the needs and the priorities of the state. As a side note, I would like to mention that I congratulate Senate Minority Leader Tom Bach on his election and look forward to working with him. I did have a conversation with Tom on the way over here, and he and I are both committed to a very smooth, orderly transition. So thanks so much. Questions?
How about the other history you're making as the first female majority leader in the Senate as well?
Well, it's quite an honor to be chosen by the caucus. And, you know, we made history on Tuesday, make a little more history. We're just going to keep surprising people.
Another woman for Senate President, too?
Yes, yes, there will be another, well, it will be a woman. We're making that decision this evening, but yes.
Who's in the running then?
Senator Fischbach, Senator Michelle Fischbach, and Senator Jen Olson. Anything?
I don't cover the politics scene a lot, but I thought on Tuesday night we were announcing that Dave Senjum was majority leader. Could you talk a little bit about the process on how you ended up winning the caucus vote and the process involved in that? Yeah,
well, I mean, we had a caucus vote. Senator Senjum has been an unbelievable, sure, come on up, Dave, is unbelievable, thoughtful leader, and Senator Senjum will continue to be a leader in the caucus. In fact, we've been having multiple discussions on how this job is much bigger than just one person. And so I don't think it's about me. I don't think it's going to be about our leadership. It's about everyone you see standing up here, and they are ready to go and lead and do what's right for the state of Minnesota. Dave,
well, and let me just say this. I don't think I ever did say that I was running for a majority leader. My goal throughout the last 4 years is to bring this caucus to the majority through a good number of good measures. And I would tell you, first and foremost, great candidates. That happened. But as we go forward now, my thought process is on this. I think it's important that we spread the power, if you will. I don't need to be leader anymore. I want other people to get involved in this process and to move our caucus forward. With leadership, I think, comes greater strength, and with greater strength comes a greater caucus. So I think it's perfectly appropriate for me to step aside at this point, and I'm happy doing it. I'm going to support this woman as much as I possibly can. We're going to go forward and make this both caucus great and the state great. Yeah.
How many ran for the position?
There were 2.
Who else?
Senator David Hann also ran for the position.
Can you tell us the vote?
No, we'll keep that.
Can somebody tell us why you picked her? You can tell us if you want, but can someone tell us why she was the one? I'll step up for that. But
David?
Did you want to do that?
Well, we have a bunch of new members, obviously. We have had a great success in the election. We had a very good meeting this afternoon, very detailed meeting. We talked a lot. We talked a lot about the qualities we're looking for in leadership. Amy is a great candidate. She'll be a great leader. And I think that what we were trying to do is make sure that the opportunity was there for a choice, and the choice was made. And we made a good choice. And just further that, at the end of the vote, we all voted to make it unanimous, which we did do. And so this was about making sure that we had an opportunity to choose a good leader. And we wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to talk about that. But Amy's qualities are, I think, well known from somebody who's been around the Capitol and observed her manner and her style, and she will serve us well, and she'll serve the state of Minnesota well. So we're all proud to have her as our leader.
Well, and Don, I'll take a crack at that too. We know Amy Koch probably a little better than you do, but we are excited for Minnesota to get to know her. She speaks Russian fluently. I think that might help around these hallways. She's got a strong small business background, and that is going to greatly help her as we work on the priorities that this caucus and these candidates and now these senators have talked about, getting this economy moving again. Jobs, jobs, jobs. So Amy brings a energy, an enthusiasm, and a passion, and I think it's going to be a great, great run with her.
What about her role in the election? How important was that?
Well, you know, that wasn't something that I made a key platform. We talked a little bit about that. Obviously, I think it played a role. But we had a discussion much further afield than that about philosophies and policies and leadership styles. So there was a great deal that played into the discussion.
Well, and I would caboose on here, if that's the right word. In many ways, because of Amy Koch's role in this fall's elections, she's very much like a statewide candidate. She was out in these individual districts, not just with the candidates, but listening to voters, knocking on doors, putting in lawn signs. She's got a better feel for the state of Minnesota, both suburban and out in greater Minnesota, than a lot of us standing before you.
Could you talk a little bit about what you think your leadership style will be? I mean, could you maybe contrast it with the last Senate Majority Leader's style?
Well, I don't know if I'll contrast, but what I do always say, Martika, is I like Ronald Reagan, who said that there's no end to what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. And I firmly believe in that. So I think that you need a good, strong, solid leader, but one that can lead by example and encourages and inspires others to take the reins on different issues or projects and move forward with them. And you have to place your trust in different people. And so, I'm a big delegator, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that you see standing behind me. I know a lot of their strengths and weaknesses. I've either worked with them for the last 5 years in the caucus, or I've gotten to know them on the campaign trail. And so I know that these are people that will absolutely have my back and can handle what we've got coming up.
Madam Majority Leader, I don't think you're the, does that sound good?
Not bad.
I don't think you're the youngest Majority Leader. I think Roger Moe might have been slightly younger, but in terms of the history of the Senate, it's a place where people stay, and longevity has been a long time. You might be one of the Majority Leaders who has served the least, just 2 terms. Do you think that's a strength, a weakness? How do you look at that?
I don't know I don't know if my time served played into it, and that'd be something for other people to talk about. I think what I'm more excited about is, the skills that I bring, the background that I bring. So it's not so much, it's yes, my time in the Senate, and it's others, but it's the overall resume that we have together. I mean, Jeff talked about my business background. We've got a lot of business people in this group, and that's going to be really important because we ran on jobs, 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 economy, and budget, and so that's going to be very important. We have some very long-term institutional knowledge, which is going to aid us. We've got a big transition job ahead, and so that's going to be a big part of things. I just don't think it's all about me. I think it's about everybody standing up here.
Does it send, let me ask you this way, does it send a symbol, though, in a body that has been very much about seniority and tradition, that you are, kind of a relative newcomer?
Well, and I have a great respect for the traditions of the Senate, because I don't think it's necessarily about us sitting in the seats, but it's about the people of the state of Minnesota, and that's the People's Hall. So I have a tremendous respect for that. I think we all do. We do something a little different. I think that's okay once in a while, but there's a healthy respect for the traditions.
What else is different? Are we going to see a relaxed dress code? We know we're going to see fewer committees.
No. Former Senator Belanger would absolutely be on the phone with me immediately if we relax the dress code. Absolutely not.
You said jobs, I believe was Senator Bach's campaign slogan. Obviously, his approach is much different. How do you think that'll work out?
With Senator Bach, or?
And you mentioned that it'd be cordial.
Well, sure. Well, in our perspective, the jobs come from the private sector, and so we're about encouraging investment, capitalization, and hiring in the private sector. So we're going to be looking for ways, and we have a great number of people with private sector background. We're going to be looking for ways to goose the economy through the private sector, and we've got a lot of ideas on that.
Do you have a mandate? Minority leaders stood here earlier today, Democrats, and said, you do not have a mandate. Republicans do not have a mandate.
It's 21 to 37. The numbers speak, I think. The Minnesotans spoke.
Madam Leader, there are some Democrats who are raising concerns that if there isn't a governor seated and Governor Pawlenty stays in power, that Republicans in the House and Senate could push through some conservative bills because, it wouldn't happen under Governor Dayton. Has there been any discussion about that, number one? And number two, what's the attitude in terms of, are you going to try and push a budget through immediately, or how are you going to handle that?
Well, and we want the recount process to continue as is required. So that's going to happen. Our schedule has to begin. We have a tremendous amount of work to do and 59 days to do it. So the transition schedule, our planning of our agenda, and the policies have to move forward apace. And our schedule will continue. We also are committed to hitting the ground running on January 4th and moving forward with legislation. That's not going to be reflective of who is sitting in the governor's seat. We're not looking to I don't know we're not looking to cram through legislation. We're not looking to play political games, but we do want to move expeditiously on our policy and the things that addressing the needs that we heard on the campaign trail, and we will move. We'll move on those.
Just to follow up, what would those needs be in bill form? Like, what would they look like? When you said you're going to address those needs that folks are talking about, what needs specifically are you going to address right away?
Well, for us, we spent 72 hours, so I don't have all the specifics, Tom. But again, in big terms, we're talking about, spending within your means. We're talking about, limiting government, expanding the private sector, and by that, we would intend to, we intend to get the private sector hiring again. So that's where the jobs come in.
Senator, excuse me, at close of session, a number of times the Republicans have lined up here and complained about the way they were treated by the majority. Do the Democrats have to worry about payback, or how are you going to handle that?
There's no time for that, Tim. We've got people out of work. We've got mortgage issues. We've got an economy that we've got to get going, and there's no time for that. So we look forward to working with the minority and moving ahead with, with things that will improve quality of life for Minnesotans.
If Dayton does win, or do you want to talk?
Do you want to come?
Talk about what we're doing tonight.
Oh. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, and just as an FYI for what our schedule is this evening, we've got assistant majority leader positions to elect. We've got 4 elected positions, and then also potentially the president of the Senate. We are just taking a break because we've got a retirement dinner for this evening. So out of respect for the retiring members and our spouses, we're breaking, and then we'll be reconvening later this evening, 9 o'clock.
So if Dayton does go ahead and win, talk about how you will what your relationship would be with him, and I guess how stubborn you will be in keeping your feelings, keeping your policies, because obviously you don't agree on things like taxes.
Right.
How's negotiations going to go?
Well, I don't know that I've ever been called stubborn, Don. That's it. I mean, no. I mean, I think I'm going to work with anybody, and we're committed to that. We've got to get things done for the people of Minnesota. When it comes to the tax question, I think it's safe to say that this caucus, in this environment, will not be raising taxes.
Does that include property taxes, like you've heard Democrats say a few times?
We will not be raising taxes in our bills.
Is gambling revenue on the table?
You know, that's something we have to discuss again. I'd kind of I'd ask Tom that we get a little more time we're just getting to, this is the first day we've all spent together, so.
I know you just elected. Have you spoken with Representative Emmer at all? We just haven't heard from him in the last few days. Have you gotten a chance to talk with him and where he stands in this re-election process?
Oh, you know, unfortunately I haven't. No, we've been pretty focused on caucus business as of Wednesday when we woke up and realized what just happened. So.
Any prospective committee chairs, specifically higher education?
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm not ready to comment on those right now. We got to get the leadership in place, and then that will be part of the restructuring. I think it's safe to say the committees are going to look different. They're going to be more aligned with the House, and we're really excited about that. I should say we've already been reaching out to House leadership, and that will be a big piece of how we move forward.
Can you say what you learned on the campaign trail while you were traveling around the state and how that's going to carry over into this position?
Well, you know, and I don't know if anybody, maybe would it be nice to have somebody, one of the new people, anybody want to speak to that? What we heard at the doors, what we learned? I mean, I think they got the closest ear to the ground. Ben, you want to? Sure.
Well, I think, you know, at least for...
You want to give your names?
Benjamin Cruz, Senate District 47. One of the things that I learned knocking on the doors in my Senate district is just the need for more jobs. You know, I see out there all the time people that are losing their jobs, losing their homes because they're losing their jobs. That has to be our priority. I mean, if you can't put food on the table and a roof over your head, then what good does it do you to talk about anything else? So I think that was really the biggest thing that I learned.
Anything? I think we're all right. Well, we're going to get to dinner, and thanks everyone for all your patience again. Appreciate it.